But first of all, thank you, Simone, you have me to talk about 10 Christmas trends. As I said, I'm Neil McLennan, and in my other job, I have for many years worked for Livingetc. I worked for Time Out magazine in London, the Evening Standard. I've always been sort of a shopping and consumer editor. And one of the things I've been doing recently is I've been working with Livingetc, consulting on the news desk and their Christmas coverage, which means I've been going to what's called Christmas in July, which, well, who doesn't love Christmas? Let's say probably most lifestyle journalists in London currently are not that keen on Christmas because for the last probably 6 weeks they've been going to Christmas in July, which is a series of sort of press and marketing promotions from most of the major retailers where they present their Christmas fare for the year ahead. And it usually means on the hottest day of the year you are in a dark room with a man in a Santa suit, they're playing Bing Crosby, fake snow, they're plying you with mulled wine and mince pies, and you're looking at sort of snow glitter balls and things and going, gosh, that's really lovely, when all you want to do really is go outside and take your clothes off and lie in the park. However, every job has its downsides, so I'm not complaining too much. But today, which means I've sort of had sort of a fairly unique insight into most of the key Christmas trends for 2017. One small caveat, obviously we're only in the third week of July, so it's not over yet. Some of the major retailers still haven't had their shows, so for example, I haven't seen Selfridges, I haven't seen Harrods, I haven't seen Liberty, I haven't seen Next Home. So most of what I'm seeing is sort of based on what's been shown so far, and it's sort of my crystal ball predictions of what I think is to come. So, Christmas trends. Well, the other thing I'm going to do is let you in on a secret, and the secret hopefully will stay in this room, but if it doesn't, I may have to kill you all. And the secret is that there are actually no Christmas trends. There's no such thing as a Christmas trend. That's because Christmas comes around every year, and in a way, most consumers want the same thing every year. But obviously, as journalists and as retail people, our job is to give them a semblance of something new. So what I don't want to do is frighten anybody in the room here by saying that some of the things that they might have bought or some of the ideas that they have got are wrong, because there is actually nothing wrong with what you've done. A lot of it is the way you spin things. So what I'm going to do is run through sort of 10 Christmas things that I've seen this year, some of which will feel strangely familiar, but give you some ideas of how they could be reinvented to give that semblance and feel of newness which everyone's wanting to offer. So number one is white. White is probably the most popular Christmas trend because basically it's like the same as decorating. If you have a white room, you can really do anything with it. You can sort of develop it in all kinds of ways to reflect your own personality. You can add sparkle and call it sort of space disco. You can add fur and glitter, and you add fur and call it Lapland. You can do a completely drenched white look and call it snow wonderland or snow globe. You can add sort of eucalyptus and wings and fur and a lion and call it Narnia if you want to go down a sort of more romantic route. So really it's a way of taking a white palette, same every year, you've got your white decorations, you've got your white colour scheme, everything white, and then you just bring in a few different accessories, as you would with an outfit, say, and create the feeling of a new look. What we're doing this year at Livingetc is what I've seen is there's a lot of people are bringing in touches of colour. So there's an awful lot of baby blue. Pink has been a huge trend in fashion. Millennial pink is kind of the new shade, which is pretty much the same as regular pink, but that's what we're calling it now. So adding touches of baby blue and blush pink, which is sort of mutated from fashion into the interiors world, can create what we're calling St. Petersburg white nights. If you look at the image at the top, which is sort of the palace in St. Petersburg drenched in snow, which I think was the image used in War and Peace a couple of years ago on the BBC, it's that kind of everything white, but just little touches of pastels. And if you add some sort of ornate, slightly Eastern European style baubles and decorations, you can create a sort of quite a new, what feels like quite a new vibe. And it's just sort of moving on the white look. Sorry, back. So here are a few other examples of things I've seen. Pink stockings, baby blue again as a sort of a tree decoration, a little bit of teal, and then Liberty haven't shown yet, but that was from last year, but it's like that sort of very ornate, jewelled, decorative effect, which a few pops of that can really sort of create the look. Okay, second trend. Midas touch, gold. Gold's always huge at Christmas. Obviously, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We all love a bit of gold, a bit of bling, a bit of glitter. It can either be done in a white scheme, like on the shot on the left, sort of just to create sort of a fairly simple but a touch of glamour. Add with white, or you can do sort of that drenched all over metallics, which is quite a bold look. But for this year, we're seeing a lot of black, gold with black, which creates that kind of Art Deco, Great Gatsby vibe. Sainsbury's Home on the left, they had a very black location for their Christmas show, and they just added sort of gold balloons, champagne bottles, gold wrapping paper. So it's a way of sort of just moving the gold thing on a bit. It's just by using it, contrasting it with black. George Home, they used black wallpaper. A lot of black sort of home accessories, Debenhams, that reindeer is in black, which is sort of a tabletop accessory. There's been quite a lot of gold cutlery around, sort of, or brushed brass, which gives that sort of old gold feel. Places like Habitat, a lot of high street stores are doing gold cutlery, which also can be brought to a tabletop to give that kind of Art Deco look. Again, Sainsbury's Home on the left. If the gold thing is a little bit too bling bling, you can do other metallics, which we've also seen a lot of sort of copper, nickel, sort of old goldy metallics, and again, done with a dark blue, which creates a slightly more sophisticated vibe. Okay, the third trend, folk. Now this probably comes out of sort of Christmas is always big with children, so it's that sort of toy box vibe. Very Germanic, folky, snowmen, gingerbread houses, tin soldiers. I guess you could say sort of the Nutcracker vibe. Lots of colour, lots of fun, lots of woodland creatures. And I think it's perhaps one of the most practical looks because, to be fair, most of us in reality, our Christmas decorations are a collection over the years. Every year we buy a few more. Every year we break a few. We might get given some. The children make them. So really, this is perhaps the most realistic trend for families that have gathered whole collections of Christmas decorations, because you can sort of throw it all at the tree or throw it all at your room, and it kind of still looks okay with a little bit of careful curation. But one way to sort of move on, which we've seen quite a lot, is I'm calling it a Midwinter's Night's Dream, which is giving a slightly more fantasy angle. Enchanted Forest, there were a lot of companies that styled their shows with an awful lot of foliage, which I guess is sort of a budget way of bringing sort of life and new life, but lots of pine trees, lots of pine cones, just masses and masses of greenery. Okay, fourth trend, Balmoral. Now this is very, I'd say, sort of heritage traditional trend. Lots of red and green, Highland elements via sort of tartan, wolves, elves, elves, antlers, what do you call them? The ones with the antlers, deer. Stags' heads, lots of faux fur, lots of pine cones. That's all still around, so don't panic if that's what you've been buying, or that's what you have, or if that's the look that you go back to year ahead, every year. However, if you want to move it on slightly, there's been a lot of just plain red and white this year, and done in quite a more modern way by just keeping it very, very stark and simple. Sainsbury's Home did a sort of a folk thing where they just had red and white tablecloth, red and white linen, red and white plates, just layers and layers and layers of red and white. And I thought it created sort of quite a strong dynamic statement with what is a fairly traditional festive palette. And then on the right was sort of more candy stripes, but just sort of building up these layers of red and white. Again, slightly more toy boxy effect on the left, bringing some wood into the equation, or a little bit of kitsch on the right, or a little bit of harlequin pattern from Christmas crackers from Urban Outfitters. Okay, fifth one's kitsch colour. This is that sort of slightly Santa's grotto, night before Christmas, pops of neon, candy cane, stockings. Again, sort of slightly children's take, sort of good for families. But this year, to make it slightly more sophisticated, a lot of people are going more global. So, in fact, Mexico, Urban Outfitters were doing these sort of piñata-style Christmas trees. There's a Japanese company doing nativity scenes with a sort of more Eastern European vibe to them. A lot of peacocks, a lot of Maharaja style, so sort of perhaps not traditional countries that you would think would be influencing Christmas, but firms and designers have gone to them to influence their Christmas range. A lot of jeweled colours, a lot of bright pops. See the Conran shop now doing sort of piñata style and sombreros, but as Christmas decorations. Refound Objects doing obviously colourful little tasseled things. Cactuses, which have been huge in the summer, coming over to winter, which is interesting. And in Poundland, which slightly oddly doing what I feel is slightly more Day of the Dead, but coloured skulls, which is, again, is the Mexican thing coming through. Okay, so that's kind of looks, Christmas looks. So that's all about sort of decoration. On the gifting front, there's one trend which I think has been huge and has been brewing for several seasons, but this year is bigger than ever, and that's tech. Technology is influencing everything. One of the interesting things we saw was app-controlled lighting. I mean, everything these days you can run from your phone. You know, you can get the kettle boiling as you sit on the bus, all that sort of thing. But John Lewis had a Christmas lighting scheme which you have on your phone. So if you can see on the right-hand bottom right, you kind of design the Christmas lighting scheme on your phone and then press start. And then the tree on the left brings it to life. So that sort of to me, that felt very new. Some light-up mistletoe at the bottom. Gift-wise, last year there was a watch, a Coding for Kids watch, which was, I think, probably one of the biggest selling toys or children's gifts last year. There are now loads of them this year. I mean, everybody wants, obviously, the kids to learn to code. So any accessories or educational app things, saw an awful lot of those. Top left was an educational book app on a sort of a phone Kindle device thing. So yeah, technology, huge. And the other really big trend, robots. They dance, they spin, you control them via Bluetooth from your phone. John Lewis sort of seems to have cornered the market on robots, but there's another company, Robot Shop, also had sort of almost waist-height ones, quite expensive, which would be more for the techie boyfriend or the young man rather than the child. But basically, there were robots from sort of toddler age right up to tech-head men. So if you've got a man in your life who loves toys, boy toys, this is the year to buy him a robot. Okay, on the food front, grown-up edibles everywhere had sort of nibbles and things which had cocktail flavourings. There was sort of gin and tonic sweets, there were mojito, icing, everything sort of influenced by the cocktail world. Gimmicks, slightly gimmicky, but one place, I think it was Waitrose, had candy selfies. So you could take a selfie of yourself and they would reproduce it, your face, in candy. That's actually a colleague of mine. My one didn't, for some reason, didn't come out. Didn't work. There were also jellied cocktails. In a lot of the goodie bags, I got a mojito, jellied mojito, doused in sugar, which the lady informed me had 5% alcohol in it. So she said, if you have 3 or 4 of those, you won't be able to drive home. I had one, I went back to my desk, and I was certainly able to operate heavy machinery. But that was sort of quite a common thing, was infusing flavours, alcoholic or adult flavours, into sort of sweets and nibbles. Also, there were a lot of sort of vegetarian cakes and puddings. There was a company called Blackberry Cottage who were doing, I mean, I'm assuming they're vegan, but they were Christmas puddings and Christmas cakes made with parsnip and made with carrot and made with sort of vegetables. Let's hope they taste fantastic. But it's that sort of grown-up adult being influenced very much by sort of the trend towards sort of healthy eating, but bringing it into the Christmas trend. And the other thing is flavoured bubbles, which is probably more, not for the home market, more probably something we're likely to see in the Christmas party market, is there's a company that produces bubbles with passion fruit flavours or with elderflower flavours. So anybody in the event market, I guess I could say that the flavoured bubbles are the new chocolate fountain. I don't know, you heard it here first. Okay, the other trend is I made it myself, which I guess is tapping into the craft, which has been huge. We all know it's been huge sort of in the general world. Gin-making kits, very big. Personalised Christmas stockings from Not on the High Street. A lot of decorations from even companies like Cath Kidston have that handmade feel. Baubles that look, and snowmen that look as if they've been knitted by ladies in Scotland, probably being mass-produced somewhere else, but they've got that vibe of being crafted that you could have done them yourself. Christmas wreaths that you augment yourself, perhaps with bits and pieces from your garden, just so it creates that vibe of Christmas that it's owned by yourself and it's not being mass-produced and not being sort of just bought off a shelf. Outdoors has been huge as well, which is interesting because we've all decorated our homes and the focus has always been on nobody really goes outside at Christmas because it's so damn freezing. But we saw some Christmas statuary at John Lewis, some sort of waist-height reindeer from a few garden companies, encouraging people to think beyond just their front room and their front door, but actually perhaps in your driveway or your entranceway to have some welcoming reindeer or to put a tree by the front gate, just to basically sort of move Christmas right out onto the street as well. A lot of garden lighting with a festive vibe. Normally we think of garden lighting as being a summer thing, but there's been some garden lighting as well that had sort of a more snowflakey festive vibe just to sort of decorate the outdoors as well. And then finally, fashion-wise, I think this could be the year to forget the Christmas jumper and not even think about the Christmas onesie, because this year, Christmas would not be Christmas without, the festive suit. I'm going to leave it there. I'm saying nothing more other than Merry Christmas.